as an organization applies digital transformation strategies to their business, the combination of IoT and AI starts to bring real disruption in these industries.
I'm Rachel Bronstein, and this is Digital Transformation Behind the Curtain. In this series, you'll hear how innovative thinking strengthens customer relationships and improves the workplace. Welcome back to the Microsoft Partner Network podcast. Today, I am joined with General Manager for IoT and AI Consulting, Rashmi Misra. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're kind of new to Microsoft, have an incredible background, you have fresh eyes on the business. Please tell us about your journey here and what you're up to.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Thank you for having me here. So I guess the journey started with my PhD in artificial intelligence, where I focused on the combination of logic and probability and models thereof for multi-agent reasoning systems. So really looking at how you can combine different types of knowledge, probabilistic knowledge, uncertain and some certain, varying degrees, into a cohesive reasoning system that can then be used on things like networks. And in fact, in my early days, I spent the part of my career in telecom system using such algorithms and machine learning algorithms to improve network conditions and deploying some of these techniques in some of the earliest expert systems in mobile networks. And we used it to apply new data sources in those days and applying new algorithms as the foundations of some of the IP and partner patents that I garnered there as well. So post-MBA on this journey, I managed businesses including Motorola's worldwide system integration portfolio and machine-to-machine, which of course is the precursor of some of today's IoT implementations. And that was for HP, now HP Enterprise. And then before I came to Microsoft, last year I was running the AI solutions organization for HP Enterprise, focusing on the very large GPU-based systems. And then currently, Rachel, I head up a team that builds IoT and AI solutions in Microsoft in our partner solutions organization, working with partners of all sorts, device manufacturers, application developers, system integrators, vertically focused partners, all who want to apply AI technologies in IoT fields.
So you've made quite the evolution. You've been on the cutting edge and you're seeing this carry through from when you earned your PhD in 1997. How would you describe the changes in computing power since then?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting question. So as part of my PhD, I constructed these probabilistic belief networks and frameworks that involved running extensive models and simulations and often leaning quite heavily on the computational resources of my university at the time. And these were Unix-based servers, fairly sizable, about the size of a post box, and would run simulations and AI models overnight and many times over several days. And now, today, I can probably run the same computations almost instantly on a device that can fit in the palm of my hand. But I guess it's worth noting that AI is not new. We've been on this journey for several decades now to augment human capabilities in those sort of three areas, to be able to amplify human capabilities with some sort of intelligent technology. Whether it's methods of reasoning, helping us to understand and interpret different types of knowledge, or maybe it's the way we interact with these systems in terms of trying to make it feel natural. So, this journey's been going on for quite a while. So why are we talking about it now? Well, the progress for all these decades has been pretty linear, with various setbacks too. However, three things today really define this area and make this speed of innovation very relevant for us. So one is the advances in these algorithms, these AI algorithms, especially in terms of deep learning with neural networks. A second is the massive compute power that we now have available, especially in the cloud. And then, of course, big data, these big pools of data that we're now able to train these algorithms with and really gain some real good insights from as well.
So really, I mean, you've understood this digital quote unquote transformation for decades, like you said. What does that mean to you? What does that define in your eyes?
So I see digital transformation as the change that occurs when we apply digital technology in various aspects of our lives, and in fact in all aspects of human society, whether it's work, social, health. And then juxtaposed alongside it, the Internet of Things is a sort of network of physical objects, devices, vehicles, buildings, and other items that are sort of embedded with electronics, software, sensors, and network connectivity that enables these objects to sort of collect and exchange data. So you have these two capabilities, the Internet of Things transforming business models by taking companies that make promises today about products and services to companies that now can promise outcomes, and impacting their business models by creating this collaborative and interconnected world that can align itself around outcomes and innovation. And it's changing all industries, both in terms of the business aspects of it and the relationship that businesses have with their customers, therefore, because they're collecting and transforming this data into really useful, usable, and valuable information. So as an organization applies digital transformation strategies to their business, the combination of IoT and AI starts to bring real disruption in these industries, whether it's engaging their customers with conversational agents or customized experiences or customer analytics, for example, or even enabling their employees with productivity solutions or optimizing their operations, or I guess the final utopia to transforming their products with innovation. So, the combination of IoT and those systems automating, collecting data, and then AI delivering those insights creates a real value system dynamic.
It is pretty crazy. I mean, forget for businesses. I mean, what have you experienced in this transformation?
So I guess it sort of encompasses a lot of the space that we work in today, quite apart from the sort of daily aspects of work. There are many things I no longer need to worry about. Did my child make it from school for today? I can even watch my house with constant video surveillance if I really care to do that.
Sometimes creepy, but cool.
Right? I can check that my plants and my lawn are automatically watered if I so want to. And then there are things that I am increasingly made aware of and so need to action. For example, have I walked enough this hour? Did I climb enough staircases during the day? Am I hydrated enough? So things that, really start impacting your life in a substantially different way, nudging our different daily actions, I guess. But if I look back at the whole journey, all the way from when I was busy playing Granny's Garden on the BBC Micro, that was a fairly basic game with lots of ASCII characters. Probably children
today
know
this game,
wouldn't even touch it. But I'd probably look to, at that time, maybe using that, maybe to sort of optimize homework, maybe to be able to apply, some of the AI algorithms to compose in the style of Bach instead of having to labor over it for hours myself for my A-level music or access to information. As you know, a lot of us, to do any sort of research, used to toddle over to local libraries only when they're open, searching through these little index cards, cross-referencing and hoping that the item you wanted to go and research was actually in the library, then carrying home a ton of books. Well, today, you can type anything into Bing and find it within seconds. And in fact, my children don't even type. I mean, they have Cortana there to help always, and they think that information is just a Cortana ask away.
I know. I mean, I actually was talking to a partner yesterday, the other day, in our partner advisory councils, and he said his son was checking his homework with his Alexa, so Alexa, Cortana, whatever, the answers. I thought, wow. And he was like, as long as you do the homework and then you check after, because that's quite scary when you think about it. The kids could potentially not even learn and just have the computers doing it for them. I guess that's part of part of the challenge and opportunity.
That's right. Lots of opportunity there too.
Yeah, of course. So, what are you working on today with IoT consulting? What is it with the businesses you're working on? What's going on in your space?
So we spend a lot of our time in the team that I work in helping the ecosystem around IoT to put the end-to-end view together, create workloads, test scenarios, create value out of Internet of Things solutions. And these workloads may be AI or machine learning models, rather executing in the cloud, using large compute resources, or perhaps closer to where their users are, closer to the edge, or even leaf devices, increasingly so now. So being able to balance the workload between all areas of their network, from the cloud to the edge to the leaf devices for IoT, starts becoming really, really important, especially when you're constrained by things like the inability to transfer data out of a country or a site because of privacy regulations or bandwidth or latency considerations, where you need real-time responses, for example. So, and of course, all of that's underlined with end-to-end security, as a lot of these devices are passing data that our partners and customers wouldn't want to have in the wrong hands. And so making sure that security is engineered from the silicon upwards through the edge or the aggregation points into the network all the way to the applications and cloud is imperative. And we work to simplify these solutions and deployments for our partners.
What are you, in your time working with the partners and businesses, finding to be the biggest challenge in that, in particular around this security concern?
So our challenge for partners, even before the technology side of it, is really what is the opportunity? How do they really make the opportunity stand out for them? By the time today is over, there's about 5 million intelligent devices coming online. By 2020, apparently there'll be 1 million devices activated per hour. And then the demographic of companies that actually exist in this space is changing. So where in the 1930s an average age of an S&P 500 company was, say, 67 years, now we're looking at an average age of 15 years. And by 2020, apparently that's going to drop to 12. So we continually hear that these companies are roughly 50% won't exist very soon as well. So it's a continuously changing organization where IoT in particular is giving birth to new companies, new opportunities, devices that run on intelligent edge and connect to the intelligent cloud as well. So all of this together creates trends here that we're seeing that really create big opportunity in a shorter, increasingly shorter period of time. And then when they look to the solution, having created a business problem here, when they look at the solution, well, IoT conceptually seems easy. Sensors are cheap, connectivity is sometimes free. So how hard can IoT be? And the answer is actually harder than we suspect at first, because there are a lot of moving parts, since there are so many subcomponents such as connectivity, security, data storage, system integration aspects of it, device hardware, application development, and of course the networks and processors. And they're all changing quickly as well. And IoT adds the unusual additional complexity of the need to scale as well. So the challenge is much bigger than many initially realize. And so we help partners to create repeatable, scalable solutions in this space while really embracing collaborative platforms and models that can work across the entire use case and all its players in that use case as well, really with security, interoperability, device management, and provisioning designed in. And finally, really helping them to look at the outcome, because once they've collected all that data, they want to connect it back to that business case that I was talking about. How do they really gain insights and knowledge from that data in a quick, easy-to-use, integrated manner? For example, in an industrial automation scenario, they might want to be able to do some acoustic modeling of equipment and image classification to help them with some sort of predictive maintenance. So really be able to bring that solution home to them and tie it back to their business needs and return on investment.
Do you have any best-in-class examples where this is really working extremely well and is getting that scalability and repeatability that you're talking about?
Yes, so we have partners who today are working with us in order to build that end-to-end solution and really look at how they're maximizing that opportunity and that conversation around, I guess, application accessibility and really making sense of that data as well that they collect. So, for example, if you have a pool of data that's been collected from their sensors, their actuators, their wearables, gateways, and they're aggregating it. They're looking at, well, what can I do with it next? You know, they might be sending it to a repository, at the very least running some sort of statistical analysis over it. But say if they want to do more, how do they actually do that more? So, they want to start using the data to diagnose or to be prescriptive in what actions they take, or to be proactive in determining when something is wrong in their manufacturing line or their customer's manufacturing line, or perhaps a healthcare patient. Or actually even be predictive in terms of diagnosing, in terms of telling us when, say, for example, expensive drill kits or machinery might fail as well in this space, or when they might use energy consumption to be most optimal as well.
And I mean, you can't do this alone, right?
No, and I think we find that a lot of our partners have a core business that they know very well, and they know deeply how their partners and their customers work in this space, and they know which sort of insights that they want to action on. So really looking to how does a business or organization embrace the IoT technology, but also how do they embrace AI technologies or machine learning technologies to simplify and then easily apply to their data from process, a conveyor belt, or even calls, right? So it starts to become imperative that they have accessibility to these models and are able to use it irrespective of where their resources are in terms of application development skills. So they may want to apply, for example, cognitive services for image or some sort of classification, or maybe even speech recognition or language comprehension. Or they may want to go the other way, which is to build an entire machine learning model themselves rather than using prepackaged code as well. So really being able to embrace that whole spectrum. So if I've got resources that want to access pre-configured, pre-created models, then I can do that. Or if I want to be able to just access them with an API call or some software that I can embed in my own application, then I want to be able to do that. If at the other end I am very happy to go and build and train my models and to run them as well, to be able to use the spectrum. And of course, where you're able to run them as well, so you can actually leverage probably one of the biggest supercomputers in the cloud as well, in terms of our Azure cloud as well. And so horses for courses, I call it.
Right. I mean, what are customers? Are the customers asking about this, or is this, partners coming together and saying this is an opportunity given what value we think we can provide or what we think you could need?
So I think our partners' customers are definitely asking them for how they can leverage such technology to really stepwise improve their business and their return on investments, for sure. Because what we see is that, IoT is a business revolution enabled by a technology revolution. So it's enabling a digital feedback loop which connects businesses to products, to customers, enabling better products and customer insights, and then businesses to assets enabling transformational optimization as well. So things creating from the data that we collect from these connected things, creating insights which they then want to go and create action on as well. So that's where we're really helping them connect those three together: things, insights, and actions.
Do you think that IoT can, how can it help society? Why do you love this? Why are you doing this?
So that's a really interesting conversation and very close to my heart, actually. I've been deeply passionate about, as Andrew Simmons would say, lending my privilege to improving human conditions, and was very active in politics before I moved from the UK to the USA about 4.5 years ago. And since then, Rachel, I've realized that politics isn't the only way to improve human lives, and actually technology and access to technology can do the same things, oftentimes quicker as well. So when we look at some of these systems in terms of what can inspire us on a daily basis, it's the ability to make these methods easier to build, secure, scalable solutions from the device to the cloud, easier to provision them, to create scale, to manage them at scale, to find those insights, and to infuse devices with intelligence, and to let a broader spectrum of people benefit from the benefits of IoT and AI. And really, our partners also see that they're making a difference to people's lives every day as well. For example, wearing a wearable device with an accelerometer in it can detect when somebody may have fallen. For example, workers in a manufacturing company when a worker is in danger, or even in a care home when an elderly person might have fallen. So something that we can really action from the solutions that we're putting out there, making journey to those sort of solutions better, making people enter that same innovative, fast changing marketplace that I was talking about, and really democratizing the access to those technologies.
I can only hope for that world, in which we can work together better and use technology in that kind of way. It's a cool way to look into the future, for sure.
Definitely.
So how do you see the industry evolving?
So AI is on the verge of making our lives more productive and creative, but it also has a more sort of fundamental and crucial role to play, right? Our ability to reason over large amounts of data, do pattern recognition so much quicker, can really help businesses, individuals, society, I guess, to move forward. And for example, having real-time information for things like energy consumption decisions can help us each make better decisions, and eventually, I guess, a whole group of people and businesses will be able to do that, and then we start seeing a multiplicative effect within this space as well. And our approach, I guess, here, Microsoft's approach, has always been to build foundational technologies and tools upon which others can innovate, as they did with the first PC platforms. And so we need to take the same trajectory with AI, IoT, and to make it inclusive, democratic, and available to everyone. And so when you look at the IoT space combined with the AI technologies, today we see a lot of process automation, asset tracking, connected robots in warehouses type of examples. But as we start seeing real efforts around all those aspects that increase productivity, decrease costs, improve our quality of life, then you start seeing visions of the sort of personal digital assistants, smart homes, smart car, smart environments. They all start becoming reality today with, the Internet of Things and AI. As we as consumers, businesses, and governments, I guess, connect to and control these IoT devices in all these different environments, such as manufacturing, connected home, transportation, and agriculture, and countless other ways, the way we interact with the world starts to change as well. And I think that will have an impact onto these IoT systems. Machines that drive us around and transport us from A and B, handle our most boring chores, wouldn't that be nice? Mm-hmm. Keep a tab on our health and vital statistics, may help us basically make better choices. And then when we add in the sort of nascent technologies, such as blockchain, for example, then we start seeing innovation around things like supply chains and all sorts of other transactions as well. So, for example, in the IoT space, a refrigerated transport example where we're transporting milk that needs to be transported under a certain temperature, a certain humidity, otherwise the milk goes bad and affects consumers downstream. So basically the milk's going from it's going from the field to a processing place, and then it gets transported from one carrier to another until it finally reaches a retail store. And with IoT, those devices are being kept track of with temperature and humidity sensors, and potentially even GPS today, whilst those goods are being transported. Now, adding in blockchain will allow us to carry and transport that produce, for example, and also make sure that it's meeting standards and compliance standards at every single supplier along the way. So we have a cryptographically immutable, shareable ledger or database that is actually able to store this truth that's shared across a certain network. So in this case, the network would be of the refrigeration transport case and all the partners that are involved in there. And so we see, I see a lot of change that will happen with our lives within that as well. And, if you're looking at the slightly longer framework, more automation, 3D virtual environments that get increasingly real, nanobots that maybe diagnose illnesses and collect data, non-biological components that enhance our mental reach. I'm really looking forward to that. And, although I don't want to talk about singularity here, right, I guess I'm predicting increasing pervasiveness, which then starts making, in my opinion, real frameworks for how we use AI and the values that AI needs to respect even more important, to making sure that as we increase the pervasiveness of AI, that we also foster integrity and trust. And I particularly encourage any listeners to look at the Future Computed, which is a Microsoft published book recently that really looks at how we can foster fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, and inclusiveness in AI systems, all underpinned with accountability and transparency. And, that's with work that they're fostering with the Partnership on AI across industry, research, all sorts of government and non-government agencies as well. So really a good read. As you can see, lots of exciting possibilities coming up, Rachel.
So for partners that want to dip into this, where do you start? How do you take advantage of this opportunity?
So I guess when I think about partners that want to come into this space, I would urge them to think that certainly digital transformation is happening at all levels and all places in our society, and to really look at how does their business case actually look and touch into this space. What difference do they want to make in their business case today that could be helped by collecting data in a system and then actioning insights on there as well, and really looking at how they might be able to build their business case and then focus on their core competence, leaving perhaps the rest to a partner that can help them simplify IoT to connect the things, gain the insights and take actions as well. And also I would urge them for maybe looking at the future and what's going to happen in there. So there are technologies that are coming along which really are the juxtaposition of new technologies as well. So you might see, for example, AI and emerging blockchain that might come into this space for being able to really add innovation around supply chains and how we manage transactions in this space as well. So, for example, we might see smart energy solutions in towns and cities where they want to enable a decentralized power trading, for example, within a local community where some houses produce solar power and electric vehicles or other installations may use as well. So you can actually apply methods of temporary energy buffers there, and you could see a scenario here where they're using blockchain technology for handling a local buy-sell transaction capability, but also maybe to enable a zero-emission neighborhood, for example. So, really being able to see blockchain and AI come together to be used as a supply chain capability. And another example, for example, closer to all of our lives is a sort of refrigerated transport example where milk that comes all the way from the field through various suppliers, sometimes in refrigerated trucks, sometimes over boats and ferries and vessels, but always needing to be transported at a certain temperature and a certain humidity. Otherwise it goes bad and affects us all. So simply produced, I guess it's going through this cycle, being carried by various carriers, and oftentimes IoT is keeping track of that temperature, humidity, and potentially some GPS as well, so you know where it is. And to be able to harness technology there in order to be able to maybe apply both AI and blockchain capabilities to meet standards and make sure that at each point that in this case milk is transferred to another transporter, that at each point compliance standards in transporting those goods from the field to the consumer have been met. So really, exciting juxtaposition of technologies that are coming up very shortly.
Where does blockchain come into that scenario that you were just describing?
So blockchain allows us to have a capability for an immutable, distributed database around certificates and capabilities around being able to share that data. So what you are able to see here is a capability for different organizations to collaborate in this space as well. So being able to have an immutable, cryptographically source database, data source, and to be able to share it, and to be able to build applications in this space to actually allow different partners along that process chain to be able to use that. And so being able to create those applications in that space will be important. So being able to have a platform that enables you to create such applications will be important too there.
And where, if you're is there a way to find other partners, or what resources, and how can you, you're talking about very advanced workloads. There are some partners, I was talking to Larry Walsh, right, and thinking about the channel that might just be still reselling and they're still barely ramping up, and thinking about IoT, AI, blockchain, where do you start? Where can they find a partner, or what resources do we have even?
So Microsoft in this area wants to make these technologies accessible to all our partners, and we strive in simplicity in making that happen. So my message to partners in this space would be the juxtaposition of these technologies is coming, and indeed quickening in pace too, and will probably drive the step up in return on investment and value in many of these scenarios I've talked about. So as they start their journey, or maybe even further their journey in this space, be it cloud or simply device-driven, or whether they're looking at these future business models as well, we really want to be able to help them set the foundations in that journey and be in a prime position, so when the time is right, they can work with a partner to help simplify these deployments today, and when the time is right, embrace these other technologies for themselves as well. So knowing that there'll be a capability to not just manage, provision, configure your IoT system today, but knowing that it's underpinned by security, knowing that you'll be able to gain the insights and action from that, and knowing that within that same ease of accessibility and simplicity, we will embrace these new technologies as well, is somewhat comforting for somebody who's stepping out in this space today.
And we have several resources for Microsoft IoT, AI. There's tons of information out there. We can put that in the show notes. But to start learning about it, start dipping in to some of the material and seeing if that's an area in which a partner wants to expand in.
Yes, I think that would be a really good idea.
Your team's done a lot of those IoT boot camps.
Yes. So we've been doing a lot of these IoT in action days. Some of them have been over a couple of days. We've participated in them globally. I think we've done certainly a couple in Europe. Then we did Boston, Seoul, Tokyo. And I think we did a couple in Taipei as well. And then finally we did one in San Francisco as well, meeting thousands of partners in this space who are all at different positions of embracing this technology. Some of them have been in this area for years and are really looking at how they accelerate and look to the next stage as well.
So tons of resources. For those listening, what are some of the key takeaways? You have a wealth of knowledge. Some things I understood you said, some I couldn't. I'm just not as, so deep in the technology. What are those takeaways, especially for those that might be a little bit less technical and are the business decision makers and they're doing that planning and thinking ahead?
I think it would be that let's simplify IoT. Let's make sure that we can connect things, gain insights, take actions, really looking back and connecting back to the return on investment, and looking at how we can build that business case and then connect the technology to it so that they can connect things, gain insights, and take actions.
All right. Well, you heard it. Thank you so much for coming into the studio today. We really enjoyed your conversation.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review if you like what you heard. Join the conversation on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter at RK Bronstein and at MS Partner. And you can hear from more great speakers during Microsoft Inspire from July 15th to 19th in Las Vegas. Visit partner.microsoft.com/inspire for more information.